so if you've watched my videos, I show you a lot of chords. But the question is, how do you turn them into riffs? In this video, we'll look at a few strategies that you can try to turn your favorite shape into an idea. We'll be in DAE, ABE tuning today, and I'll have some lesson notes up on my Patreon page. Without further ado, let's get into it. For our first strategy, we're going to create a groove and arrange it by strumming chords and placing single notes in between. This is the easiest strategy that we can use, so we basically just strum a chord and then play single notes afterwards. And we want to do so within the framework of a rhythm that has strong stress points and flow afterwards. Kind of like... So if we listen to the rhythm of that, it's dun dun dun, diddle diddle dun 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 dun. So we have that dun dun dun, which is longer, and we fill that out with chords. And then our flow afterwards is filled out by single note melody. Alright, so I want to show you guys another example from a riff that I've written. So we put a capo on the 10th fret here. So this riff uses this chord, and what we're going to do is start with the chord, so we'll use it as a shot, and then we're going to follow it up with a flow of single notes. So looking at that again, we have our chord, then single notes, more chord stuff, and then single notes. So once again, if you can take a groove and arrange it by playing a chord followed by some flowing single notes, that's a pretty nice and easy way to write a riff and idea. For our second strategy, we're going to take a chord and arrange it by arpeggiating it and creating a series of gestures around it. So more specifically, we're going to take the chord and break it into single notes, and then we're going to try to find a rhythm, series of gestures, and phrase around the chord. Gesture meaning a small pattern of movement. So a gesture could be something like hammering on into a note in the chord or sliding into the note of the chord. For this technique, we're basically trying to tinker with the chord by playing around with arpeggios, different rhythms for those arpeggios, phrases. We're playing around with things like pull-offs. So we're playing around with things like hammer-ons. Maybe we're trying different techniques. We could try slides. We could try doing like little double stops and stuff like that. Basically, we're just experimenting with different techniques and rhythms to see how they stick and how they feel. Ultimately, when I'm writing an idea, I can spend a lot of time trying to find a gesture that works with the chord I'm arranging. So with that being said, you want to be pretty creative and experimental with your approach, try a lot of different techniques, different rhythms, don't commit to something too quickly, and you'll be surprised at what you can come up with. And embrace finding new chords, because there's always something new and interesting that you can do with it. Finally, I want to mention, if your idea is complicated, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to sound better. Sometimes all you need is a simple finger picking pattern. So here's a chord that I arranged out like... just like this. So it's a really simple finger picking pattern, and at least to me, I thought this was kind of a cool, inspiring idea that I could work with. So sometimes simple is best too. For our final technique, we can create a run by passing through a chord shape. Essentially, we're going to make a line that's composed of notes that are both inside the chord and outside the chord. For example, let's say we have this chord again. An approach we could take is to start with some notes that are outside of the chord. Then, once we get into the vicinity of the chord here, we can move through it, hence the term passing through the chord. And then to complete the phrase, we can exit the chord shape completely. And we get this idea. So once again, it gives us this riff. Now, when we're writing these kind of ideas, we don't necessarily need to move through the chord in the middle. We could try it at the beginning. So let's say we have a chord shape like this. I could arpeggiate through it like... kind of like that. And then we could move to somewhere else. Maybe even move into another chord shape and arrange it out similar to the second technique where we try playing around with all of these gestures. That would give us a sense of chord progression. But anyways, once again, when you're using the pass through the chord technique, it can really happen anywhere in the line, not just the middle, could also be at the beginning. Alright folks, there you have it. I hope you guys have some success with these techniques, and I hope that they enrich your experience when you're playing around with your favorite chords. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.